At a home in Bel Air, everything was right with the world. Her parents named her Avery.
Avery.
She arrived perfect and with a smile. But just a few months old, her legs went limp. Something was wrong.
I just started screaming, and it just doesn't seem real.
What was real was spinal muscular atrophy, a rare genetic disorder. The legs first. Avery's use of her arms will be next. Then the ability to breathe. At best, doctors give her 18 months. So what do you do with that little time? You dance.
You like that?
Mike and Laura Kanahwadi took Avery's story online, created her own blog.
The reality is that this disease will take my life.
And offered her own bucket list, the moments, the memories they want her to have before she's gone.
Hey, Avery, you silly girl, look. Mike always told me we've got all the time in the world to cry. We can cry, you know, when she's no longer here. But for now, we want to try and enjoy the time we do have with her and just make memories.
Memories like her first Easter, her first trip to college, her first innocent kiss, her first little girl tea party with her mom.
Oh, yummy.
All of this online for a reason.
We can watch her die or we can let her live. And through her letting her live, we're gonna try and educate other people about this so that they don't have to go through it too.
SMA is a genetic disorder. There is no cure and very little research. But parents can get tested to find out if they are carriers, if it's something they could pass to a child.
It's very aggravating that no one knows about this.
I refuse to think that my daughter will die in vain.
So Mike and Laura promised to chronicle every moment in a very short life so that we remember Avery, remember a disease that needs more research, and remember how they spent each day.
We didn't sit there and cry that day. We sat there and we made memories with our daughter.
And lots of them.
Memories they will keep alive, hoping someday they lead to a cure. Kevin Reece, KHOU, 11 News. At the H2 Ranch and Cattle Company in Madisonville, rancher Kevin Hartley has a problem.
I don't like them. I don't like them.
Doesn't like the wild hogs tearing up his pastures and devouring his cattle feed.
You got any idea how many there are out here?
Oh, Lord, thousands.
Which is why he's best friends with neighbor Lewis Mitchell.
I said, man, them things look like they're good to eat. So I started killing them and eating them.
The man in the fur hat is a retired firefighter, and in his retirement,
He done got that trap all turned around. Good Lord of mercy.
he catches hogs. Today, his homemade trap caught a 175-pound boar. And so far, his traps on Kevin Hartley's ranch alone. So how many just on this property?
4.
4?
1, 2, 3, 4, yeah.
Have nabbed him 160 wild pigs in just the last month.
All right, we ready to go.
We're ready. But the man who hauled away one wild pig, then with his John Deere tractor and a livestock trailer, loaded up the other 7 he'd caught the day before, is fighting one very big uphill battle.
They'll kill you if they get a chance.
The conservative estimate in Texas is at least 2 million wild hogs, roughly the human population of the city of Houston. So many that it's completely legal to kill Texas wild pigs every day, as many as you want, even in certain approved areas, by helicopter. But Lewis Mitchell's pigs go to market. A buyer in Singleton who sends them to a processor selling wild pig meat mostly in Europe, a European delicacy for which Lewis gets 40 cents a pound.
The gas and everything, the feed you gotta feed, you don't make that much money.
Well, why do you do it?
I love it.
What do you love about it?
The excitement.
For the 8 pigs he caught this week, Lewis got $122. So you're not in this for the money?
No, I just love it.
And it's a love that Texas wildlife officials wish more hunters would share, helping reduce a wild roaming nuisance.
Another day, another dollar.
Lewis is on the job, one pig, one paycheck at a time, with only 2 million more hogs to go. In Madisonville, Kevin Reece, KHOU 11 News.
The search is on for a pair of attackers who shot someone over a new pair of shoes and then sparked a major accident in the process. Kevin Reece is live in North Harris County with more on what happened here. Kevin?
Yeah, deputies tell us that robbers followed 2 young men all the way to this neighborhood from Willowbrook Mall. That's about 9 miles away. The victim's car crashed in between these 2 houses and severed the gas line on the side of the house after one of the young men had been shot in the head. And the police tell us that all of this was over a pair of shoes. The car crashed into the side of a house, its tires still spinning, digging into the lawn. The crash ruptured a natural gas meter and broke a sister's heart. She said it was her brother, the driver, still inside, slumped over with a gunshot wound to the head. Deputies say this all started miles away at Willowbrook Mall, where 2 young men bought the new Air Jordan sneakers. They were attacked by 2 gunmen as they pulled into their driveway at home. So many shots fired that bullet casings litter the street. And evidence marker number 20 sits next to the shopping bag of shoes. The car crashed into the side of Joe Camarillo's house with his wife in the kitchen just on the other side of the wall.
It's shaking me up because of my neighbor's son. I think of him as my own son, you know. I'm sorry, but you know, these things should happen. But unfortunately, you know, that's what's going on in this world now.
His neighbor was the passenger in that car. He escaped unharmed, telling police the gunman raced away in a green-colored car, leaving the bag of shoes behind.
It's completely idiotic. I don't understand the rationale of it. I mean, just as this kid bought his tennis shoes, that you can do the same thing instead of taking a life or attempting to take a life behind a pair of tennis shoes. Is just senseless, nonsense violence.
Now deputies are on the hunt for 2 gunmen willing to fire a barrage of bullets, terrify a neighborhood, and attempt to take a man's life, all for the sake of a few pair of shoes.
That's very unfortunate. Like I said, it shouldn't happen. I mean, you know, what's this world coming to? You know, it doesn't make sense.
Certainly does not, and we are still waiting for official confirmation on that young man's condition, but at last check he was in critical condition with severe life-threatening injuries. If anyone has any information on this crime and knows who those gunmen might be, they're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 713-222-TIPS. Live in Northwest Houston, I'm Kevin Reece, KHOU 11.
All right. 2 little girls, blessed and in danger because they will always have their daddy's heart. KHOU 11 News reporter Kevin Reece tells us about a rare disorder so that you can consider being tested as well.
We got married on July 24th of 2004.
Kristen and Tyson Wallace were happy. They had everything they wanted except a family. That would take 7 more years. A medical struggle Kristen bound in books to remember it all. Like the day they first heard a heartbeat.
My husband had brought a camera and a video camera, and he was going to video it, and he dropped both of them when we heard the heartbeat. It was just, and he just couldn't stop crying.
And then March 12th, 2011.
It was the best moment of my life.
Twins, Eleanor and Olivia.
And he just kept whispering to me, "We're finally a family, we're finally a family, it's so perfect." I'll never forget the look on his face. He kept saying, "I finally have everything I've ever wanted." It was so perfect. It was really perfect. It was a great day.
But those great days would only last another 10 months. January 18th, 9:17 in the morning.
Nobody would tell me what was going on. They just said he wasn't breathing, that he collapsed.
Tyson was only 30 years old. His heart ruptured. There was nothing doctors could do.
I never in a million years ever imagined that I would be 30 years old and not have my husband. He was my whole world, and we were so happy. And we finally had our family. And out of the blue, my entire world fell apart. He was perfect. He was fine. He was fine that morning.
It's a really silent killer, and you can have no clue that you have a problem. It's incredibly rare with only a few hundred people that have been diagnosed.
The rare disorder that took Tyson is called Louis-Dietz syndrome, a silent killer that enlarges the aorta, an aneurysm, stretches it until it can't stretch anymore.
If it's something that we could have prevented, I think if we had known about it, they would have done surgery on my husband and he could still be here and my daughters would still have their father and I would still have my husband. You say hi?
But while Kristen still has her daughters, their dad's heart problem is genetic. The girls have it too.
So we found out right after they turned 1.
The average life expectancy is just 26 years.
The concern is that they will have an aneurysm that dissects and they will rupture their aorta at a young age, like in 20s and 30s, which is exactly what happened with their dad.
But this is where Kristen's books start talking about hope, because Tyson's tragic death gives his girls a fighting chance.
If this had to happen, maybe this is how we found out that we're gonna save my daughters' lives, because we never would have known about it. I would never sacrifice my husband for my daughters, but he did save their life.
Medication can slow the damage, and heart surgery may come at an earlier age.
All done, all done.
And it's been encouraging, actually, it really is. So hopefully we can slow down the progression of any of this. But what could have been done for him is what we're doing for the girls.
The blessing and the curse for Eleanor and Olivia is that they will always have their daddy's heart. But now doctors also have his warning as his last gift.
I will do whatever I can to honor my husband and his legacy, which is them. When I look at them, I see him. They look like him, they smile like him, they act like him. They are his little children. He gave me these children, and I'm gonna raise them knowing that their father loved them and their heavenly Father loves them even more, and that he's watching out for them, and that he is taking care of them. And I choose to believe that.
A belief that could help keep two daddy's girls alive.
I didn't go anywhere.
In Friendswood, Kevin Reece, KHOU 11 News.
Some Texas ranchers say they are losing control over their land to the Canadian company building that Keystone pipeline. While concern over groundwater contamination is delaying work on the northern section, construction in Texas is already underway, sparking battles over the fields. Here's our Kevin Reece.
The property line goes with this fence.
On his 4,000 acres in Beaumont, David Holland has several hundred head of cattle. An active farm growing rice and hay.
The exit of the pipeline.
And pipelines, lots of pipelines, more than 50 crisscrossing his family-owned property for generations. But TransCanada wants to add one more.
Have you ever heard of a biblical character called Goliath?
Yes, sir.
Well, let me tell you something. I think I know how David felt.
The traditional approach, as has usually been the case here on David Holland's property, is for a pipeline company and the landowner to negotiate a price, and then the pipeline company starts digging. The difference with TransCanada is that TransCanada is already here. Contractors from TransCanada are now digging in Holland's hayfield, even though he hasn't given permission.
And we've been paid nothing.
It happened like this. TransCanada offered Holland more than $440,000 for access to his land. Holland turned it down, saying other companies usually paid him more. So TransCanada went to a Jefferson County judge claiming eminent domain with an offer of just $20,000. The judge said go ahead and dig while they haggle over the offer in court.
I have an issue with the Canadian company being allowed to abuse Texans. And that's exactly what's happening.
We made numerous attempts to interview TransCanada about Holland's case and the several other eminent domain actions underway along the pipeline route, but our calls and emails were not returned.
It's not my first barbecue.
Mike Latta is the farmer who leases and operates Holland's land. TransCanada did pay him $120,000, but he says even that won't be enough to put his hayfield back together.
They don't pay enough. Not for all you have to do. I mean, it's a real pain.
And Holland's pain is compounded by this pipeline, a CO2 pipeline owned by the Texas company Denbury. They are still battling in court. The pipeline is in the ground, and they haven't paid him either.
Oh, I think there's a chance for a settlement. The question is, how badly do I want to be abused to get there? And how long will it go on?
A land battle proving that, at least in a courtroom, that oil and Texas land don't always mix so well. In Beaumont, Kevin Reece, KHOU 11 News.